So you want to know the future of content? The truth is, you're 6 months behind. And we figured this out, that there are all these trends and all these things that people tell you about how you should be doing social media. And what we've realized is everyone's 6 months behind. What we're going to talk about today is what is the future of content? What does it mean that the algorithms are pushing long form content? And what is basically the formula you can use to engage and create amazing long form content that is fun to create and that people actually want to watch? And we'll give you an example of all the times we've been ahead of the trends and then 6 months later saw them be really popular.
We noticed that the old things are not working anymore. People are tired and the shift is coming, and this is how we're shifting too.
First was trending audios. That was the stuff on TikTok. And we're mostly going to talk about TikTok because Instagram follows usually whatever TikTok does, and that trickles into YouTube shorts. So we had trending audios, which was like 7 seconds, super short. Those worked out really well for me. You never did those though, right?
I did a few of them in the beginning and they went viral really fast. That was like my first month, like December 2021.
Yeah.
But then in January, I stopped doing those.
Yeah, because then everyone was talking about, after trending sounds, like, oh my gosh, you know, the algorithm is now pushing original audio. They want talking videos. They want you talking in your videos. And so I shifted into doing that, and then those started doing really well. And I think that's really where you took off, right?
In January 2022. I started doing talking videos because I was like, look, I want to talk. I don't want to point at a screen and like do
Dance.
this. I want to just say the shit that I want to say. And so I started doing that. But then in May, kind of when it's about damn time, like the trending audios started dying out and they were like cycling so fast. And I was already doing speaking, but that's when the speaking content really was picking up.
And it was like 60 seconds or less speaking videos.
And so from January 2022 to July 2022 is when like original content, 60 seconds or less, kind of like 60 to 30 seconds, talking content is what was pushed.
Then people were saying that talking videos were too boring, so everyone was like, you need to be doing something while you're talking. And people thought, what's an easy thing to do? Get ready while I talk, because then people have something visually cool to look at, but I'm also telling a story. So I'm meeting all the requirements of the algorithm while also being engaging and interesting.
It was also during that time, it was a big push of like, anybody can be a content creator, anybody can make money online, anybody can get brand deals. And so the push on the Get Ready with me was like an easy way to get brand deals and get PR gifted really fast, because like you're showing product and they're like, oh my God. And everyone was buying things so much, which it died out really fast.
I think I did some Get Ready With Me videos. Did you do any? And I was just like, I didn't enjoy making them.
I never did it because I cannot think in the way that like we're thinking and kind of how my talking videos always were. And do makeup wasn't ever something I could do. It's also, we were doing that because our attention spans were so short that like we need visual and audio engaging. They can't just watch a video.
But you're right, you were ahead of the trend in that time because you're like, well, I can't do that. What's a better version of that? B-roll, which became the next thing. People were like, well, if you don't want to do Get Ready With Me, you still need to have visually stimulating content. And so you can do voiceovers and have B-roll or videos of yourself doing things to keep your users engaged. Those have always, even to this day, still do really, really well for me. But I don't think they do well for me now because of the fact that it's B-roll and it's that. I think it's because of the storytelling.
And it's the ones that do well are people who are good storytellers and they're putting a message across where a lot of people don't have that ability. And then they're like, well, it's not working for me. You're just not a good storyteller.
Vibes. So
a lot of people aren't, and that's okay. Sometimes I suck at it too.
Yeah, it's an art form. So that is basically like what has been the trajectory of the different trends and the way people have been telling you to capture the most views and engagement and followers. But now it's being pushed, and many people are getting the 10-minute option on TikTok, is even longer form content. We've gone from 7-second videos to 30 seconds to under 59 seconds is the key to 1 minute 30 seconds. Now 3-minute videos are going viral. I have a 3-minute video that's currently going viral, and that's mind blowing.
And for me, I find it really interesting because personally, I'm getting tired of the For You page. And though it is still like a good algorithm, the content it's pushing lately is not great. Like I'm getting videos constantly from January or February. I'm not necessarily seeing like content that's been posted in the past month. And I've also noticed that it's very similar, and that could just be my For You page, one. But I've noticed people are tired of just seeing things and just getting so much pushed to them. They want quality, actual thoughts and things to come from it, which is where the long form content is going to move, but people aren't knowledgeable of how to do that, and it's going to push a lot of people out of the content create space, which I think is good.
Yeah, which is basically what we're going to break down for you today. But before we get into that, we have to talk about why this is happening, because if we can understand how people are engaging and viewing content now, we can understand how to create really awesome content, which leads us into talking about how society is changing. And we're going to get a little astrological with it to start, because as you may know or not know, Pluto has entered Aquarius, and that might not mean anything to you. You might not care. But it is very important because basically over the next 20 years, we're going to shift how we approach things in society. And that means society itself and the way people consume and engage and create communities is going to change, and it's going to impact how you create content.
And you know, if there's one thing I learned in high school history, it's that history repeats itself. And so right now we are in repetition, because the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was in the 1700s. And there was a lot of things that happened then that are going to be probably happening again in some type of way in the next 20 years while Pluto is in Aquarius. And so right now we have a brief period of it in there for like 3 months, and then it goes back into Capricorn for a teeny bit, but then starting in January, we're kicking it off strong.
January 2024.
And so this is kind of predictions over the next 6 months, but also what's gonna come of things over the next 20 years.
And like this will impact more than just content, obviously. For example, the Industrial Revolution happened the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, and the rise of machines meant that less people had jobs because their jobs were taken by machines, but people's lives were made easier by machines. And we can already start to see that happening with AI moving in now. And it's not machines taking jobs, it's AI taking jobs. And yes, that is frustrating at first, but in the long run, it will make people's lives easier and more meaningful and have more purpose, which in turn leads into how people communicate, consume content, and create content. In terms of like Pluto and Aquarius and like what does that mean for content and how are people consuming content, it's really interesting to think about like what is Aquarius as a sign and what does that mean. And I think of authenticity, uniqueness, all of those kinds of things. And you can already see people are craving authenticity in content and not fake authenticity. You know, there was the whole Lashgate mascara drama where a content creator used mascara and then put falsies on, and everyone was like, that's not authentic, she's lying to us. And that's blatant lying. But I think even more than that, people are going to want authenticity in its truest form, not where you're being fake vulnerable to be just vulnerable enough for people to trust you, but really being honest about how you're feeling, how you do things, and not wearing a mask to seem better than. Before Pluto was in Aquarius, it was in Capricorn, and that's like girl boss era, be strong, be perfect, be put together, work hard, stay hard. And people are over that. And we don't want you to pretend to be perfect anymore. We want you to show who you are authentically, even the messy parts. And not the like, oh, I'm so messy, I have ADHD, look at my clutter kind of way, but like, no, like I deeply struggle with this thing and I want to talk to you guys about it because maybe someone can relate. And that's the kind of community we're creating, not like the mask version.
In Capricorn, it's very work focused and production focused. And we're kind of tired of that. We're tired of just being pushed all of these things. And inside of TikTok also, I noticed another person posted this is like, what are your issues with it? And people like, I'm still on it rather than other platforms, but it's not building the community sensor that people are looking for. Something about Aquarius is also seen as like the architects. And so they're not necessarily in the forefront, but they're in the background and they're here for structural change and everything. And that's why there's gonna be this big shift in the structure of content, and it's people wanting to talk about deeper things and not have as much access as the Capricorn-ish kind of gives us, where it's like, oh, the big sister, I'm there for you all the time giving you advice, but it's more like I'm here to talk to you when things are happening and I have things to share, and it's not 24/7, and so it's going to be a lot less access to things, but that's going to make the access even better.
And that's something we've already started to do. This is why we're like, we're 6 months ahead, and everyone will get to this point too, is, you know, even a year ago, I realized people had too much accessibility to me in terms of I was going live every day, I was posting content every day, and that has that's what's been pushed, right? Post 3 times a day, 7 times a day on TikTok, go live every day so you can maximize, get the most people, yada, yada, yada.
How to have ideas every single day. I've seen so many videos on that, and I was like, well, why do I have to have a new idea every fucking day? Why do I have to have groundbreaking ideas every single day? That's not possible.
No.
You're just trying to be the machine, because Capricorns are kind of a machine. They're a productivity machine.
Right, and we are not doing that anymore because, one, the more accessible you are, the less excited people are to engage with you, right? It's like when I was going live every single day, people knew I was going to go live. So they're like, well, Ashley, be there tomorrow. I don't have to watch today. You lose that excitement. And I think people have gotten relatability confused with accessibility in terms of you're relatable if people can contact you every day and they see you post every day and they can talk to you live every day. That's not relatability anymore. We want relatability in the term of what Victoria said, of like unique perspectives that people can relate to. Like, I have this really cool way of thinking about something and maybe you agree with it, and that connects us and that makes us related to each other in some kind of way. And so where, with how content was before, we're posting all the time, we're posting 3 times a day, you're gonna start to see more exclusivity in people's content where they're not available to you 24/7. And people are gonna start to act more like a celebrity, where in the sense of like, you might only see me once a week on TikTok. You might only see a post once a month on Instagram. And that doesn't mean there's not other things going on in other kinds of content, but like that every day I have an idea and I put it out is not gonna happen. It's more gonna be like this drop of knowledge when I feel like it. And that's very much the vibe of where content is going. And there's an exact formula to it, which we'll get to. But what was the example you gave of like Aquarius and like the dating thing?
Oh, so I always see so much about like Aquarius and dating, and like they're the weirdest sign and whatever, which, fun fact, I'm an Aquarius. And I see these things of like, oh, your Aquarius friend shows up for dinner and has this man behind her, and your friend will be like, oh, like, who is that behind you? And they're like, oh, it's Dean. And they're like, who's Dean? And they're like, oh, my partner. We've been together for 8 months. And like, you'll not have known they'd had a partner or were even dating at all. And they're like, oh, hi, Dean, nice to meet you and everything. What the heck just happened? Like, yeah. I saw you last week. I saw you 2 months ago. No, you've never said anything. And I think it's really funny.
Which is so different, because now how people have been doing content, they're like, you need people to be a part of every part of your life. Even me, whenever I was teaching people how to do content in my program Content Closer, it's like, you need to tell, like, you don't want people to see you go on a vacation and be surprised that you're going on vacation. You want to include them and clue them in on what they're doing, because you guys are friends. That's changing. People are not your friends anymore, and we are gonna start to see a lot more people lean into the parasocial dynamic of content, where people feel like they know you, but in reality you are so far removed, and that distance is gonna get more. But what I think is interesting is that distance is gonna get further, and so that might happen where you're not gonna know Victoria has a man until 8 months later, but people are gonna still feel close to you because of the unique perspectives you're giving that have so much value. And it's like I posted on that video, Earth is My Playground, and I have so many comments of people saying, I feel seen, I cried watching this made me feel so good about myself, I don't feel alone. And it's like a feeling was evoked, and so now we have a closeness without me having to show up every single day to make them feel connected to me.
And so when you take time and have those deep, unique thoughts and then share that's going to hit somebody so much deeper, rather than just like, oh my God, that's the same thing happened to me on a date. It's going to be like, you feel so much closer, because it's going to be a deeper understanding of a idea you both felt, maybe not necessarily in the same way, but the feeling has been there. And so that's what people are going to evoke, and that's a different type of parasocial.
Right, because you're further,
so
but you're closer.
You feel so connected, even though on a visual level you're not as in contact with them.
And it's like, would you rather have a surface level friendship but you hang out with that friend every day, or have a friend that you grab dinner with once a month and you guys are so deep with each other and you skip over the bullshit and you feel close because you can be honest about how you're feeling and how you're dealing with things? That's how content is going. And we know people are over surface level friendships because we've seen that on TikTok, and the same thing is going to happen on the internet and on social media. And I think that even brings us to the fact that traditional media is mimicked by social media. And we've already brought up a lot of examples of that, about how, whatever celebrities are doing eventually becomes what happens on social media. And so you'll see, I've said before, celebrities have distance from their audience. You're going to start to see social media and content creators have distance from their audience. The difference is celebrities are not going to be the ones to let you in on their life and build that closeness. They have fan base and communities built around just kind of their persona and who they are and their art. But if you're a content creator and your content is your art, that's gonna bring your closeness. So where I might like Selena Gomez because she creates awesome music and that music hits my soul and I can feel so close to her even though she's a celebrity, you're gonna feel that same way about the best content creators because their content is their art. It's gonna hit your soul, and even if they only drop one thing a month, the way, an artist might have one hit album or one hit single a summer, you're gonna feel connected to that more than the person who's posting 3 times a day on TikTok.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is like thinking of content as art instead, and thinking of it as like albums and music is like go create some, and it's like a little different, right? Like, I mean, you can create one piece of content like one time a month versus like dropping an entire album that you've worked for a year or 2 on.
Yeah.
And creating an experience, because even thinking of like another example, Mike Posner, he walked across America and made an album off of everything he learned off of that.
And he took the time to do it. He didn't think, he wasn't like, every day I'm going to post on social media and share people what I'm doing and share what I'm thinking about this. No, like, celebrities take time to think about things, to digest things, to experience their life. They take months, if not years, to develop an album. And it's not like they're letting out sneak peeks or they're sharing their thoughts or they're telling you what it was like in that breakup and going on news interviews. No, they're saving it for the album drop. And so yes, we might not drop one piece of content a year, but we're gonna start seeing people spread it out because that is what people want. In media, social media always mimics media. That's just how it works.
Yeah, and there's too much creation, and thinking on like you being live every day is like people are like, I can skip today because I know she'll be live tomorrow, is the amount of people can't consume the amount of content you're making. Like we had a podcast and we were at one time posting 2 times a week. And I heard people be like, I'm not caught up on the podcast yet. I'm like 4 episodes behind. And I was like, are we putting out too much content? Not necessarily that every person has to view every single piece, but it's something to think on if you want them to see it and grow and you're putting so much work into this. Are you fully taking the time to give it the whole picture? Am I going on ideas that I'm having too fast because I'm so desperate to put out things so consistently? And by consistently, we're sold it needs to be every single day, but consistently doesn't need to be every single day. Like if somebody says they want to go to therapy or they want to start working out, that doesn't mean you have to go every day. That means like, go once or twice a week or something.
Well, that makes me think about, we talked about this. So before Pluto was in Aquarius, and it was in Capricorn, and before Pluto was in Capricorn, it was in Sagittarius, which is like go with the flow, be creative, adventure, yada yada yada. You know what happened during Pluto in Sagittarius? The best time of YouTube ever, where people were consuming content in this way that we're gonna start moving towards, where you would get so excited for your favorite content creators' weekly drop. You're like, I can't wait for Thursdays because I know on Thursdays this person posts, or even their monthly drop because many of them shifted to posting once a month. You would get so excited for that. And they would have great pieces of content for you to watch because they were just taking so much time to think about what they were doing, how they were making it, what was going into it, all of those things. And then, with the rise of Capricorn energy taking over, you saw like the crazy vlogs of people vlogging every day and Vlogmas, and the quality went down. Like you can't watch someone post Vlogmas and post 30 days in a row and say every single one of those videos is exceptional and has amazing thoughts that makes you feel something. And it's like this fake relatability where you feel close to that person because they posted every day and you saw their life every day, but did you actually connect with them? No. So why are we doing this? And we're not. Like that's not the future of content. You can't keep doing that anymore. 1, for your mental health, 2, for your sustainability of your life and not burning out, but also 3, because people are not going to watch you if you make content in that way anymore.
And that doesn't build community. It just builds out like more burnout and exhaustion in every part of our life. And a time I loved is like when we were so excited back then when that was like what, early 2000s,
Yeah.
before like 2010.
Near 2010, yeah.
Is like we're waiting for drops is in 2021 in the spring, HBO Max started putting out their shows one time a week.
Weekly,
Mayor of Easttown,
White Lotus. Oh my
When
gosh.
and then
Dragons, House of Dragon.
House of
Oh
Dragons.
my god.
I was hooked and I was like, finally, I have something to live for every Friday. I'm gonna make a great dinner and I'm gonna go watch that. And I'm gonna then be able to talk all week about it and whatever. And it makes me excited for a single day. Rather when giant things are just dropping and it's like, here it is.
And you consume it all so fast, it has no impact on your life. It doesn't change your mind. And if you're a marketer, that's shit for you, because what does that mean? That means your customers are consuming a bunch of your content. It's not shifting their mind. It's not changing their opinion. It's not making them feel close to you. It's not making them act. They've just been fed a bunch of things and it didn't mean anything. Because like that's what happens. Like I can binge a whole season on Netflix and it's gonna be like, wow, that was cool. And then you move on with your life. Same thing's happening in content right now.
Even me watching One Piece, you're like, oh, where are you at? And everything. And I'm like, oh my God, so much has happened. Where am I at? How
Right,
do
no
I
time to
describe
process
that?
it. Yeah.
And it's like, I have to take breaks because else I'm not going to have thoughts about it. I'm not going to perceive things. I'm not going to understand fully what's going on because I'm just so used to having to just consume and have things like put in my face and just constantly do that. And you're having your user never think. Where now we're going into the space where our users are thinking, people are thinking. If people are being more mindful of their consumption, then we as creators need to be more mindful of the production, because I notice that I cannot watch everything and that I like it when I know it's just going to be something once a week or something predictable to watch and it's well thought out and well done, where when it's just constant, it really loses the production, the thoughts, the quality of everything together.
Well, that makes me think of what led us to the theory of the future of content, and there's 3 parts to it, but what led us to develop it, and we're going to talk about how you can use it, was me getting so excited to watch Vanderpump Rules again. I'm sure you've seen the scandal of it all if you watch Vanderpump Rules, and you know that one of the cast members cheated on his long-term girlfriend with the girlfriend's best friend. It's a whole thing. And so when that happened, I got so excited to watch Vanderpump Rules again, especially because it drops every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Okay, every Wednesday night am so excited. I watch it, and you know what happens after I watch it? I immediately go into Reddit, and I'm like, what are people saying? What are people thinking? What's going on? Then the cast members all throughout the week have podcast episodes where on their own podcast, they're talking about the episode, things that we missed, what they thought about it, and I'm consuming that and I'm eating that up. And then I'm like, oh, let me go have a discussion on Reddit and see what people are saying. What are people saying on TikTok? What are the memes people are posting? And so like this one piece of content, this one episode was so incredible that now all these other pieces of content are being made, and instead of me like binging a TV show and like just shoving a bunch of information into my head, I have one 40-minute episode that now I'm going to break down and break down and break down and break down and break down, and I'm going to understand every facet of it, what people are thinking, what they're not thinking, how they're perceiving it, and I'm going to have this like fully developed opinion. Yes, it's Vanderpump Rules, and it's like, how much of an opinion can you have? But I will have an opinion on that thing, and that's traditional media, which led Victoria and I to formulate what's going to happen in social media in terms of content. It's going to mimic Vanderpump Rules, which sounds so silly.
But it's kind of like a new addition in a new online community sense of what we had around the 2010s and that YouTube era and content coming and like TV shows you had once a week. Like I remember in high school, I never watched 90210. I don't know if you did, but like I know people would come on like, I don't know if it was Thursdays or something. I'd be like, did you see the last episode last night?
I was watching American Idol. I'm like, oh my God, did you see what happened on American Idol? Did you see that person got cut? Did you see that person made it?
I didn't have TV growing up.
Okay.
I didn't watch any of it, if I'm honest.
Okay. Well, anyways, let's break down how the future of content is going to look based on what we just talked about in media and Vanderpump Rules. Because you take an initial episode, right? And you take this idea that people want long-form content and the algorithms are pushing long-form content. So what is that going to drive us to have to create now? obviously long form content, but not just long form content. It's going to be an original piece of content that has everything that's we're embracing in this like age of Aquarius, the unique perspective, the vulnerability, the thought out thoughts being displayed to people on a very consistent but infrequent basis. So consistency is like doing the same thing a certain amount of times. Frequency is doing it a lot of times. It's not going to be as frequent, but it's going to be something you can predict. The same way with Vanderpump Rules. I know every Wednesday at 9 p.m. I'm going to go watch Vanderpump Rules, and it's going to be amazing. And that's the original piece of long form content. Now, if you're a content creator, you're going to have to figure out what is your version of original long form content. Or maybe you fall in the other two categories of content that will be created. But if not, and you want to be a thought leader, you're going to have to be creating this original long form content, wherever that is, podcast, YouTube, TikTok, doesn't matter. It's going to have to be created.
That was really good. Like people confusing consistency for frequency.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we have been in the age of information for so long. It's now going into the age of knowledge.
It's almost like the age of wisdom.
Wisdom, right? And so what is the difference between those? Because like, right, we need a lot of information to have wisdom or knowledge or whatever. It's now taking that information you have been learning and have so much access to in doing something and empowering and creating something from it instead of just holding it inside of you. So think of like all this content, it's just been thrown at us. And so there's just a lot of things, but now it's taking time, dissecting the architect in the background, piecing it all together, and then creating it in a digestible format.
Yeah, I like that you keep saying architect because it literally makes me think of what does an architect do? Well, you know, no, I'm thinking archaeologist. But still, because archaeologists are like the storytellers, right? So if we, because archaeologists who like dig up stuff, right? They find dinosaurs and stuff. They have to tell the story of what they find. So it's like
I've never thought of it as storytellers.
If we pretend, dude, I think everything is art and storytelling, and that is one thing I will never stop saying. But if we pretend that you didn't say architect and you said, what did I say? Archaeologist, and we pretend they're the same thing, we need to be archaeologists in the sense that we are no longer just providing information to provide information. We are telling stories. We are taking the information we are given and making it mean something more. And that is happening on both sides of the screen. I'm going to give you information right now, but we're telling stories while we're giving you this information about ourselves, about our lives, about how people are doing things. And on the flip side, if you want to live a great happy life of the age of Aquarius, you're not just going to watch this video and then go watch 15 more of ours. You're going to take a pause and you're going to build your own story around what we tell you. So we're telling you the future of content. Now it's your job after we get to the end of this video to decide what does the future of content mean for you and what's your story within it. And that's how content is going to shift when it comes to these longer form pieces of content. This video you're watching right now is an original, unique perspective, long form piece of content, and from it will derive many other pieces of content.
Moment of mindfulness, compassion. If you do go and then watch 10 other videos,
oh, no
it's
shame.
Okay. It's
a vibe.
We are learning and we are coming out of a very burnt out era and very part of our lives where we are in high consumption. And it's okay if it takes time for you to get comfortable viewing one thing and thinking on it. Don't worry about that.
And now back to content kind of number 2, right? So we have our original long form content. That is the future of content. People are done craving bingeable. They are craving exclusivity and excitement and things that evoke feelings, and things every day are not going to evoke feeling. Intentional content creation that happens consistently but not frequently will invoke emotions. But from that original content, you will see commentary content. And this is the kind of content people are going to make, like the Vanderpump Rules podcast, where they're talking about something that happened. They're talking about what a thought leader said. They're talking about yada, yada, yada kind of thing. So we can even think of, you mentioned.
This is where community gets built, is in that commentary content, because people are now sharing ideas and sharing
opinions.
Things on a common thing. Mm-hmm. And you don't necessarily have to all agree or do anything with it, but now they have a space in it, an amount of time where they can do and build that and grow together. And that can help the person who originally posted it, but also the viewership and community around it.
Right. And like we already know that commentary content works in the form of people stitch people's videos. They reply to people's videos. We take an original piece of content and then you go stitch it and make another idea about it. But even if we look at this in forms of traditional media or social media on Vanderpump Rules, where, they have their own podcast on their own stuff. They're giving their story of what they couldn't say because they didn't actually create the content, right? A producer made it, an editor made it, Bravo made it. And so if you don't have control over the original content, then you can be the commentator.
Yeah.
Because like if we made a video about this, is it commentary content? Probably not. We're probably just continuing on the thought leaders. Commentary content will be made by the person who didn't do the final edit or have the final say on the original form of content.
And there's two types of commentary content, right? There's like a person inside of the original experience, not necessarily the original producer, but they can provide more commentary, but then also other people could do commentary. So listening to a pop culture podcast, that's commentary content.
Or like, let's say Gary Vee had an opinion and I stitched him and I talked about what Gary Vee was saying. That would be commentary content because I'm commenting commentary on what Gary Vee had to say about something. Even if I'm adding my own original context and ideas, that I would still argue is still commentary content, because what would make it original, which is really a simple shift, is me putting my perspective and then using an example like Gary Vee. So for example, like to our future of content theory, that's the original content. We're giving you context and examples of that happening in real life, versus if we used a Gary Vee video to inspire this video, he would be the original content. We would be commenting on his thoughts and his opinions, kind of thing.
Right, like what if I go watch a podcast and it inspired me of like, oh, I saw this and inspired me to talk about this, and then I go and did a lot more research and now I'm talking about it? Is that's original content versus
this podcast made me have a thought and now I'm going to talk about that.
And now I'm just going to talk about that. I would say that is not original content. Yeah. That is commentary content.
Yeah.
And it's not good commentary content.
Yeah, no, it's not. Like, you should have original thoughts and opinions. And it's not, and it's like, people are going to continue to do that, but the people who will grow to the top will be the original thought leaders, will be the people who have original thoughts. And that's not to say that you do not get thoughts and ideas by living life. You literally have to live life and experience things and see people say things to generate your own thoughts. We're talking about the presentation of that thoughts will be the future of content. So for example, like obviously me and Victoria have all these thoughts, and it was inspired by the fact that I was watching Vanderpump Rules and we were trying to figure out how to continue doing our content and what we wanted to do. But we're not commenting on the situation in Vanderpump Rules. We did research to understand what is the future of content versus like looking at what someone else did and then being like, and they said this because, and that's good because.
And it also came from like, we were so tired of pumping out creation and feeling like it was good and feeling like we're constantly saying the same things. And it's like, it was exhausting to us to say it and like think of it and edit it. I was like, God, I literally don't give a shit about what I'm saying. Like, this is so old.
They tell you, they're like, just say the same things every day. Like, you'll be known for it. Just keep saying the same things.
That's so boring.
I'm bored. I don't want to say the same thing anymore. Like, sure, great for brand awareness, but like that is like the most watered version down of brand awareness you can have. If you cannot get known by your audience because you only say like for more than saying the same thing every day, like fix your brand, because that is just like so dumb.
That's just like the stupid, like you have to have a niche.
Yeah, no, you don't need any of that. That's so stupid. Anyways, back to this. So 2 forms of content. You have your original content, we have commentary content, and then from that will derive community content, which is created by the community, and which is interesting because like could be commentary content, but it's not, because it's more community focused. And so what we're thinking about here is like, think of a comment section, think of Reddit, think of people coming together to ask questions, build theories, and it's more collaborative versus like, here's what I'm thinking in my head. You have the original content. So let's say a thought leader makes a thought. Then you have commentary content and then commentary content makes a comment. No, but literally, yeah. But so then a commentator would be like, oh, they had this thought and these are my thoughts on their thought and why I think it's a good thought. And then from there, you'll have a community who's either consuming content, commentary content creator, or OG content creator. I need my fucking graphs. You know, we need to get a whiteboard. So here you have community content. I think the key of community content, how you know what it is, it's collaborative. It's engaging with the types of content, and then there's communication happening within the community about the things they've seen. It gets really tricky, right? Because a community member can make a comment and have commentary, but that's why I think the distinction between commentary content and community content is collaboration. It's coming together in the comments and like forming theories and ideas together. Like, for example, if we think of Vanderpump Rules, you know, someone's gonna post on Reddit and say, oh my gosh, did you see that that Raquel slept over at Tom's house while Ariana was away? And they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, do you think she stayed the night? Oh, I saw this tote bag. You don't bring a tote bag that big unless you're staying the night. It's like they're building theory together, and so that's building community around this bigger thing. But the cast members are not involved. So like if we think, okay, well, how would that play out with a content creator? If we go back to Gary Vee, who you don't know, but I imagine many of these people do know.
I don't know people, sorry.
Gary Vee is not in his comment section talking to people. Like, he's quite literally not. Should he be? I don't know.
I argue yes.
Probably.
I'll die on that hill.
Probably.
If you want to have good community, then you need to be up in your fucking comments.
Yeah, but you know, that's the form of accessibility.
Not on the daily basis, but at some point you do.
We'll just like hang out a little bit, but you know, help form the theories, right? You don't want to not be a part of the community that's forming theories, but you know, like people are commenting like, oh, that's so right, or that's so wrong, or they're debating about the thing the OG commenter said. And the same thing is happening on the commentary content, because like no matter what the commentator says, people are always going to go back and debate what the OG person said, because the commentator is going to be like, this is what I think. What do you guys think? And so that's why I think it's important to distinct the future of content is these three levels, because no matter what happens, everybody's always going to come back and talk about what the original thought leader said, what the new perspective is, what the vulnerability is. And this doesn't even have to be like thought leader. Like when I say thought leader, I think of like business leaders or content leaders. It could be as simple as like a vlogger. A vlogger makes a 20-minute YouTube vlog, and then maybe one of those gossip sites, right? They make a short little TikTok, the little drama sites, and they're like, oh, did you see this vlogger? Did this, and that? What do you guys think? And now the community is making community content both in the vlogger's comment section and in the TikTok of the drama person.
And I think basically the biggest thing to take away from this is that the community element is coming back, because that's been taken away for so long. Because one, in TikTok, like your comments are so limited of what you can say. Like there's only an amount of characters. I mean, for a short time you were allowed to say anything as long as you want. And that got a little crazy.
Yeah.
A little crazy. But now is like we are going to bring in that community element, which is going to push content out longer and make it, for the content creator, feel safer that they don't need to be creating and pushing out all the time.
Yeah, because I think like basically the future of content is a longer life cycle, and we love a long life cycle. How many of you have TikToks from 6 months ago that are still getting views? That feels really good. Imagine if that same TikTok was 10 minutes long, still getting views, then on top of that had 3-minute little videos made by people who were commenting on how good it was, and then on top of that it had consistent people engaging in all of those comment sections. Like you took a 10-minute video and made it last so much longer by going through these levels of content, and that's going to be the future of content, and the people who rise to the top of doing content will follow that pattern.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the future of content.
And so we're doing that.
Yeah, so basically what we've done, because we are 6 months ahead of the trend at all times, thought leader vibes, is we had a podcast, and we're like, okay, this podcast is not it, because who listens to podcasts anymore? Probably lots of people, but not us. So if we're not listening to podcasts, our community is not listening to podcasts. But you know what we do watch? Long form YouTube content. I watch YouTube content way more than I scroll on TikTok. And so here we are creating our original long form content, which will lead to more things and expand the lifetime of our own content.
I still listen to podcasts sometimes, but it's not like weekly ones or
I listened
whatever.
to the Vanderpump Rules podcast. Let's get that right.
Because, and like, if you're thinking like, why aren't they consuming podcasts anymore? It's just about that mindful consumption anymore. I don't want to, at first I was using it because, I can gain so much knowledge and I can gain so much knowledge. It's
get
not
information
about,
fast.
or information fast. I can get so much information. I can learn so much. But now it's not necessarily about the information. It's about digesting it and taking time. And so when I go on my walk, I'm not looking to go on a walk with a podcast anymore.
Yeah.
I'm looking to go on a walk in silence. so that I can
My thought.
collect and get some thoughts and knowledge flowing that then I take back
To
with
make
me
long content.
and make that content during time I make content.
Amazing. Anyways, what are your thoughts on the future of content? What have you seen trending? What do you think is going to happen? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. We'll be doing videos like this when we feel like it, and at least one video a month with more thoughts like this for you to think about and help better yourself with.
And we have a lot more already kind of planned out. And so we'll get some of those out, and those will be fun.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur evolution, the purpose cycle.
We have a lot of theories on the way the world works. In the meantime, you can listen to some of our old podcast episodes on the YouTube channel. We'll create a playlist so you guys can watch those. Not binge them, but I mean binge them if you gotta. And we will see you in the next one.
Yeah.
Cool. Bye.